I look like I had a long day of work. Okay, that's because I have though. So, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Pro-Am Tabletop. Basically, what we got going on today, as I promised you, last episode was those pink horrors, and now we're working on some Annihilators for my Stormcast Eternal army. And I'm going to pop that down and darken it for you so you can actually see them. You see those beautiful bases, which will be in the next episode. We're not doing the bases this round. We're just doing a quick paint job on my Annihilators themselves. It's kind of a mix between Grim Dark and Anvils of Heldenhammer. Just doing something really quick. Black prime coat. We're going to get right into it. And I'll go ahead and talk throughout the paint of the steps that kind of go into this to keep it super quick, but looking pretty good all at the same time. So let's just I guess dive right into it. Yeah, so I'm using the Iron Warriors Citadel color on here, and just doing a very, my goodness, if I can hold on to it, doing a very heavy dry brush over the whole thing. And the reason why I started doing this is because I really want to just... This was basically when I started... This is my first army. This was... Got them for the Dominion box. Started getting into AOS. I hadn't had another AOS army. I had Necrons because my buddies were into 40k. So they had a bunch of 40k stuff. So I begrudgingly bought... some Necrons that I actually found a pretty good deal on, but it just wasn't really my suit type of choice, I guess. And so I went and I got, I prefer the fantasy over this sci-fi look, and so when this came out, the Dominion box, you know, I convinced my buddy for us to split them, and I would take the Stormcast boys, and he would go and take the Cruel boys. And, you know, for my first army to kind of really paint up all on my own, I wanted something that was also quick, because I wanted to be, you know, on the table, painted up fairly quickly where we were playing with things. And so that's kind of how this paint scheme came about. I wanted something like, even though they're the good guys and whatnot, I wanted them to kind of be, you know, as they are, kind of still dark and not really that good. And so that's where I kind of came up with this Grim Dark, along with this Anvils of Heldenhammer theme. And just from looking at a lot of stuff online, that's kind of what, oh my gosh, I can't hold on to these models. It's kind of what just stood out to me the most. I was definitely not a fan of the bright yellow or bright gold and blue paint scheme. And for these guys, I don't know, it felt a little too glorious, and I know that's kind of how they are, but I just wanted them to be, I don't know, a little different. So that's where we came up with this. So we just went ahead and basically we light brush the Iron Warriors, or whatever it's called, the Iron Warriors onto this under a black prime, and we just kind of start working away at it and chipping away at what we can, and then just adding in some trim. And this is a very heavy dry brush, and just adding in some trim, and then just small bits here and there, and then that's pretty much it. It's pretty good, and we'll call it a day. Okay, so from there, just to kind of give it a little bit, what I really liked about Anvils of Heldenhammer was a simplistic nature. And so what I went and did, for whatever reason I made this decision, but I like to add in some of these plates here, and I don't honestly know why I do it, but you have to do it before you do your gold trim, just because that allows you to be a little messier. But I like to add black along the fronts here, and it's different depending on the model, but for my Annihilators I did him on this, and then so I don't know why I do it, but it looks really nice. It adds a nice little accent. And I do it along this plate up under here. I feel like it just kind of helps break up the monotony of all this dark silver trim, and kind of just make it be a little bit more unique than just what it is, just as black or this dark gray everywhere. And so, and it's basically just as simple as that. We're not doing anything crazy. Just adding a little bit of extra there, just along those plates, along that back right there. Okay, so that's that step. Just going and adding a little bit of black, you can see there, and up under those pads. So now what we'll do is we start doing all of our bronze trim, which is our Balthazar gold. And we're doing that just on all just different types of trim we got here. We got a Balthazar gold, and then we got our Retributor armor gold as well. We got two different golds that are going to be on here. But, okay, so next we're painting a little bit of white, and there's not too much white to it, but I like to thin it down a little bit because we can always come back with the gray and clean it up, and we don't want to spend too much time just nitpicking and doing small stuff on here. So I just kind of come to these cracks, make sure it gets painted. For these easier cracks, I might have it a little bit thicker. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, y'all, so we went in the hammer, we went and painted There's like cracks in the hammer. We haven't painted those white because we're taking the Tesseract Blue contrast paint. And we're just going to paint in all of those cracks. Okay, y'all. So I got these models all painted up, finished up, just did some facial skin. This was not as much about, doing all that. And I'll show you this one. That's probably my best one. Not really about doing all the skin and showing you how to do that. So, and then got just all those smaller details. So now we're going to do the basing. And what I like to do, and these are already glued on there, so I can't do anything about it versus how I do it now. But I'd already glued these on here. Because I like to first do a little layer of just like a lighter, since with this basing, I like to just do a lighter kind of color, and so I just kind of go with skin tone because that'll match the basing we'll use here here in a minute. But I've already got these rocks made up, and I made these months ago, probably over 6 months now. Oh my goodness. I probably made this 8 months ago, but just threw some plaster with some Woodland Scenics rock molds and made these up, and then did the Loot Geek Gaming's paint scheme with some yellow ochre, some light gray, some darker gray, and then a real thin black wash over it. And so that just got me that color. And then I've got a Luke's Geeks Gaming, the Mediterranean soil. That's what we're doing for it. Close that back up. And then different tufts from Gamer's Grass. We've got some white little flowers. We got some violet flowers, green shrubs, some short little 4mm green tufts, and then Geek Gaming some tufts that are just different. And we're not going to put them all on here. It's 3 bases, but that's kind of what we were rocking first. So we'll go ahead and start putting this on.